Hello and welcome to Course Correct. Stop! Hold up. Wait a minute. No. Seriously, if you can stop and slow down, you've clicked on the link for a reason, and that's probably because of a desire to check where you're going, what you're doing. Course Correct is the sheet I use with coaching clients initially to get some understanding of where we are and where we want to go. And most people don't do that unless it's New Year, maybe. One of the things I want you to do is just to focus, give this some attention and some time, just to slow down and understand where are you going, what do you want, etc., etc., and just to take some time. Because we do it in a journey. If you're going on holiday or you're going to go and travel somewhere, how much fuel have you got left in the tank? What's the direction? What's the routes? Have you got a sat nav? Have you got alternative routes? How long is it going to take? Do I need to stop? Etc., etc., etc. But in life, most people just crack on by default and are not really looking at where they're going until something happens and makes them think. And coaching is one of the things, unless you're going to DIY it, it stops you and makes you accountable for what you're doing. So first thing I want to do is check, where are you? Age, where are you in resources? Where are you at the moment in life? Because we've only got 24 hours of the day, and how are we applying it? And how much more time have we got in life to do the stuff we want to do? And are we stopping and thinking about what have we got that we want to get done in life? And have we got a plan for it? So some of this is working out, have we got the fuel? How many more Christmases have you got realistically to you die? And have you planned to do all the stuff you want to do in that time? So the Course Correct is just to stop and get us to sit back and review where we're going and what we're doing. Because tick tock, time is moving on. We want to assess the journey of life. Is like a journey in a car. It needs to be assessed and managed. Where are you in where you want to go? And is that journey by design or is it default? Are you getting to where you want to go by design? Because you can outsource and help to be able to navigate through. Like you can get in a cab and get someone to take you to a destination, or you can get a rucksack and start walking. Whatever it is by design, is it by design? Are you where you want to be by design? Most people, if we sit and we look at New Year's resolutions and this is where we think we're going to be, and we get to September, October, November, and we haven't moved, we haven't changed, we haven't shifted, and we're not doing things differently to get where we want to get to. So this workshop is what I use with coaching clients to start with, is to get you to assess where you are and start looking at where's the work. Is it that you don't know what you're doing, or is it that you need to shift? And this workshop will get you to unpack and look and see exactly what needs to be done. So download the sheet, buckle in, and let's move on and start working on the worksheet to get you to Course Correct to a life by design versus default. So let's get started. At the top of the sheet, there's do, want and don't want. It's like a plane. It's where you don't want to go and where you do want to go. I want to start working towards getting some content on these two sections. So dream big. What you want from life. Start writing down and just start brainstorming anything you want. Health, wealth, happiness, anything you can think of. You can start putting down there that will start identifying the sort of things you want to work towards in life. Now, you may be doing this in general for a general life by life. It might be you want to be fitter, might want you more money. It may be you're being specific and you've picked something you want to work on and you're drilling into that specifically. But start unpacking and brainstorming all the things you want in life if you had a choice. The other thing is, what don't you want? What's the negative that you want to come away from? If you want to lose weight, you may not want a six-pack. You may just not want to be able to not touch your toes or have trouble putting your socks on. You may not want to have trouble getting upstairs. You may want to be able to walk upstairs fully, but you can start identifying what you're working away from and what you're working to, and start unpacking in this list the things from life that you would like to start working on, so we can start identifying some direction in where you want to go. Now imagine this course was 10 grand You had to justify 10 grand. Start getting greedy in what you would want from this to justify investing and paying. You've not paid a penny to do this, but if you had paid 10 grand and you had to justify to the other half or the company and business you work for why you spent that money, start unpacking and really getting what you would want to get out of it if it was £10,000. And then think bigger. Imagine if it was 100 grand and you had to remortgage the house. For this session, this workshop, what sort of things would you want to get out of it? The other thing is just to stop and pause and to step back. Now imagine if in the corner of the room there was the 100-year-old you, and ask yourself, or ask you at 100 to look back. What things do you think that you would be advising you to focus on in the things you want more of, and or the things that you want to move away from? Ask that 100-year-old you, what would I want? What do I want now? What's important to me from the time that I've got left between now and 100? Just look back from 100 and think, what would I want to have in that time to justify it? And start writing it down and unpacking what it is you would want. And then flip it. Well, if I'd want to spend more time travelling, what would you not want? And that'll be to be tied in, and maybe to not have the freedom to go and see the places that you'd want to go and see. Not have the ability to unpack and design that system to be able to get you where you want to get. The fear of not taking action if you're putting on weight and you want to lose weight. The fear of not taking action if you don't create the income you want. What would it feel like to not go to the cash point and not be able to take money out and have that feeling of that card being rejected, versus not having to worry about money, simply not having to think, because there's so much in there, or there's so much revenue coming in, that it's just not an issue. So ask yourself, and then come back to Matty's magic wand. If you had a wand and we gave it to you now and said, right, you got a minute to start waving that, what sort of things would you dream for? What sort of things, if there was no limitation and you could just wave a wand, what sort of things would you be putting down that you would want in life? Now stop the video now and pause and just spend some time drilling in to the depth of what you're doing, because you need to dig deep for a reason. Now, tapping in and aligning power with these goals is where we get the drive from it. So the positive and negative in engineering, we find that we need to connect to something that needs to move, like a tractor, a big motor. We need to tap into a heavy source, have a lot of traction and a lot of power. It's the same with goals. Getting movement and getting that shift in where we want to go, we have to drill in. So the idea of this negative and positive is really drilling into what you're aligning to, what power, what source, what power and energy you get from the negatives and positives to help you move. And this is where we want to drill in, and this is where it needs to dig deep to unpack as many of these as we can, so we can get to as much of the source of why we want to move in life. This drill will show us the difference between torque. If I put this on a low torque setting, this is the amount of energy and power that's allowed. I can hold that drill and stop it with my hand. If I increase it up and raise the torque, I can feel my hand and the drill forcing it through. And this is where we need any of the goals that are big, or that we need the traction, we need to tap in, because some people don't move because the goals, they're just not powerful enough for them to take action. And this is the next stage of the worksheet. So doing more or doing less of, there's a simple science in this program, and it's literally that. If you do more of something and you do less of something, you're going to get movement. And don't complicate this. the simple science is if those things are listed, if to do more of something and to do less of something are listed, that's the facts of what's got to be done. And we overcomplicate things in life and in engineering movement because we it's what we don't want or what we do want which governs our movement. And this is where the shift is needed, to shift into doing what we need to do more of and what we need to do less of. Break it down and list these items and truthfully ask yourself, if as a consultant, if someone was coming in and had to list stuff you do more of, list stuff you do less of, just unpack as many of them as you can. Think about who could help you do more of, who you could involve in, what people have you got around you, what information have you got, what knowledge could you reach out and get. And just use this time to sit and unpack the mechanics of movement. Because at the top we worked on a desire and the energy and the motivation in taking this action. But we've got to understand, what are the components? The trellis is something I use to understand that these are the habits you cling to when you grow. You cut through a bit of timber and you have habits that are formed. Those circular actions are a daily, a weekly, an hourly, a monthly routines of habit over time take you in a different direction. And what have you got to do to get you to move? So shift, that's the bit in the middle. That's the bit that does the work. All of these other things, they're ideal, but unless you shift, you're not going to change your outcome. You are not going to do sweet FA, because you can bow and stretch to change these habits, but at some point, unless you've made a shift in a long-term scenario, you're not going to make a change over time. You're going to slip back into old habits. Some clients use me for the accountability of coaching and to course correct, because sometimes you make these changes and then for whatever goes on in the ocean of life, you drift back into an old pattern, an old style, an old stance, or you don't realign and stay on course. And that shift here is where coaching comes in to place, because the mechanics of these things that we've just worked on are pretty simple, are pretty basic. And if the truth of it is that you didn't know what to do less of, then this workshop could have given you that. What I want to try and get to now is where the shift is. If you're finding that you're not getting the outcomes, it's because there's a fixed point, a fixed habit, a fixed mindset, a fixed element to what you or the team are doing that's not getting a fundamental change. And it may have been that you haven't seen all of the aspects of the things that you've got to do. But 9 times out of 10, people know what they've got to do. They just don't find an engineer where the shift is. And that's one of the things coaching can do. Now, in engineering, some of the shifts, it might not be very big, but look, I've got a little one. This is my trusty 10mm spanner. That helps me shift. In engineering, some of the measurements that we use are as little as that to make a different outcome. These are the magnets that the lifts see when they go up and down the shaft. Like a slight change in them gives a different outcome. And some of the things, other than accountability, are programming, a software. These are some tools that we'll use to plug into and engineer a change in the way a lift operates, how many floors it's got, etc., etc. Because I use engineering a lot as an analogy for life. Because I am a lift engineer, I design bespoke lifts, and the principles are the same to reverse engineer back. Stuff's got to be done, stuff's got to be changed, circuits, systems, components need to be re-engineered to give different outcomes. And if you want to get where you want to go and you're not doing that, you're not seeing a change and a shift, this point here may be where we come in, and it's finding where the work is. Because if you can use this system and you can make an effective change, then you don't need a coach. You simply don't need a coach because you'll be getting the outcomes you want. Where we come in to work with people is finding where the shift is, if it's not naturally coming with what you're doing, and it's engineering that difference in. So you're done with what you don't want, what you do want, what you've got to do more of, what you've got to do less of to move you in the right direction. I hope this had some value for you. I hope you've got some motivation, some movement out of it. I offer a free 30-minute pure coaching session. There's no sales crap with it. It's just a coaching session to see how you work with me, get some value from the session. Afterwards, I'll send you a summary and some links to some packages. If you want to work with me, you can. If not, just use the session, use the 30 minutes, and then move on. So I really hope you got some value for this. Good luck with your goals, and take care.